What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Friday Night Live calling show right here with your host, Mr. Rob G. We are in the building, and hopefully, my voice is sounding on point. I know it's sounding a lot better, and that's the reason why we didn't do the Wednesday show. Had to sit back for a minute. The only way you're gonna let your voice heal, and here it goes. Only way you're gonna let your voice heal is if you sit back and you don't talk a lot, right? So I had to take a day or two to make sure that we went ahead and did that so we could be ready for tomorrow's show. So TGIF, happy Friday to everybody out there. Hopefully the audio's coming through really good. We kind of just threw this up. Let me see what's up, Miss Captain Jones. I do see you out there. Also, Paramarv, appreciate you stepping on into the building. This is the call-in show. Let me go ahead and actually throw the link out there for everybody. You can join the stage anytime, and just speak what's on your mind. If you got something related to the topic of UFOs, what it is that we're dealing with here, and the topics we'll touch today, definitely be glad to have you on stage and kind of come and talk about it. So, otherwise, we'll be jumping into some really good stuff as well. Let me go ahead and bring up our slideshow here because we do have a call in line, and it's still not up. It's up, but it's not up. So, it's working right now. You can call it at any time, and I recommend that you do. That is 856-843-3444, or that is going to be 856-THE-DIGG. Outside the United States, just dial 001 first, then 856-843-3444, or that would be 001-856-THE-DIGG. As we go ahead and get it in, because once again, this is the Friday Night Live calling show. This isn't a show for me, it's a show for you. You know, I talk on all these other days, and this is actually a show for you to come on and get it in. So, let's see here. Let's see, we're having a problem streaming to Facebook. That's okay. We're live on YouTube, so that's all that matters. Hey, Kurt M., thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you showing on. Now, let me give a round of applause to everybody who came on in bright and early to get this show going. Because once again, this show is all about you guys, and I want to make sure you get your standing ovation, your round of applause right here on the show. All right. Good stuff. All right, so we're not going to be here that long. We're going to definitely just jump into a couple of topics here because, once again, we have a awesome show coming up tomorrow with Preston Dennett. And we got a lot of goodies planned for the next few weeks. So definitely want to make sure that you stay tuned to this channel. Make sure you are subscribed if you're not already, and that you hit the notification bell so you know the next time we go live, right? On the mission to 1,000 subscribers. We are on that road. It is a long road on the mission to 1,000 subscribers, but we are slowly but surely getting there, one by one by one by one. And it's so valuable, the one, right? The number one is so valuable because if you think about yourself and you think about what it is that you want out of this phenomenon, how important it is for you to get to the answers and kind of find a place where you can sit down and talk to people that are just like yourself, that are also trying to get those answers, ends up being a fun place. So for every one person that comes on and discovers what we're doing here, I always feel awesome about that because I know it's just another like-minded person that has found the place to have this conversation. And that is a awesome thing to do because guess what? It is going to take all of us to sit down and use our critical thinking, use our logic, our one of our superpowers, logic, and figuring out what this is. Now, what just kind of getting into the show because I didn't want to drag on too long. Once again, I want to get in and out today. The Pentagon obviously released more UFO videos, and I want to go ahead and play a quick clip from the news broadcast, kind of get us going here. So, if you wouldn't mind, guys, kick back and we'll take a look at what I have queued up for that. Let's take a look.
Over the ocean. The release also includes dozens of documents, videos, and several audio files of NASA pilots reporting mysterious objects. Let's bring in Jordan Flowers. He is the executive director of the Disclosure Foundation, a nonprofit that advances UAP transparency through policy research, legal support, and public education. So our teams are still going through these files. Haven't seen any evidence yet, but what will you be looking for when you're diving into them?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I think from a big picture perspective here, we are looking at the second release of videos and documents from the government about this mysterious phenomena. I think what's clear from a big picture here is that unequivocally we have things in our airspace and even in the global airspace demonstrating beyond next generation capabilities that we do not understand. There have been recent incursions of some of these objects at our sensitive military facilities, which are now wartime incursions. And I think whatever the truth is here is sensational, whether this is breakthrough US technology, whether this is foreign adversary technology, whether this is an undiscovered natural phenomena, or whether this is some form of non-human intelligence. Whatever the truth is sensational. It's either the story of the decade, the century, or all of human history.
But that makes you wonder, without clarity, what's the benefit of releasing all this video and images for us to speculate? You know, if we think back to the typical silver flying saucer image that became representative of aliens from the 40s and 50s, it stemmed from a lot of government research in Nevada around Area 51 of actual U.S. technology. So sometimes these can be secret government footage of government plans, maybe our government, maybe other governments. What do you think is the benefit, considering there are so many questions and speculation, of releasing the video so that we can all guess what we're seeing?
There's a few great points in there. I think that the public is begging for transparency with respect to this topic. There's many things that the public has a deep intuition that they're not being told the truth about, and this is one of those things. So I think that, you know, to the extent there's transparency with releasing this, that's great. But certainly we wish that there were more context and analysis being provided with these videos. I mean, that's something that our organization intends to provide. And, you know, we also call for a national intelligence estimate with respect to this subject, these documents, and this topic. We really need more context and analysis to help us make sense of what's going on here. And one last thing, I would point out that the shiny objects from this release are indeed the videos. However, I would not lose track of the fact that there are newly declassified documents in PDF form released here that indicate a memo from the 1950s that indicate that the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, the FBI, the Atomic Energy Commission were convening meetings, classified meetings in the late 1940s to discuss the, quote, green fireball phenomena. I mean, there are major aspects of this topic that are truly news breaking that I think are worthy, not just in the videos, but in the PDFs. So take a look at those too.
All right, Jordan Flowers, thanks.
All right, so awesome stuff, awesome stuff. The we definitely want to make sure that we kind of address this, and I do want to take a moment here, real quick. Roger Murray pointed something out that I didn't realize all this time had passed. But you know, it's been a year, wow, since Renee Cruz, who's a big fan of Spaced Out Radio, and she used to come over here occasionally. And definitely miss Renee. I mean, I remember when I was first made aware of that news, and it was definitely so sad to hear. You know, anytime you lose anyone, period, but especially part of the community, part of the family. So, condolences and you know, healing energies and all those great things go out to Renee Cruz's family and Renee. I can say, you know, with my whole situation, I was out for a family member recently who actually ended up passing away. So, with that being said, I do understand loss and condolences with their family. You know, it's been pretty tough as well for my family going through this stuff, and I totally, you know, have an outlook on this. So, I'll take a moment to kind of talk about that. You know, you take religion, right? And when I say this, and I was saying this to my family members because it's hard. It's very hard to go through something like this. And I'll say in my family, it's not something that we dealt with a lot. But I can say that everyone in within my family understands that there is some sort of, you know, higher presence that is the reason why we're here, right? Maybe even if they don't subscribe specifically to one particular religion, I think the consensus is there's something that has created us. There is a creator, and I think that I being in the position that I'm in here and the conversations that I've been able to have with a lot of different individuals in this space, interviews, things of that nature. When we talk about consciousness, when we talk about the paranormal, you know, when we talk, especially like Eugene Braxton, when we talk about near-death experiences, and just the whole fact that we know from a lot of the conversations that we have from a lot of experiencers that there is that next step, that there is a veil and there is something on the other side of that veil. Now, you don't have to get into religion to understand that or to experience that. You could be totally non religious and have experienced that the notion or the fact that there is something beyond that realm or beyond that veil. And I think just being able to have that perspective and without going too long on this, you know, I feel like I've been put in different positions, you know, without trying, kind of just guided into these positions, and I attribute that to God. But I find myself in moments where I feel like I'm somewhere where I'm needed for whatever particular reason. And even in this family instance, for me to be able to relay the type of information that we talk about in this community, even though it's something that we don't necessarily talk about within family groups, it still came in handy when it was time to have these tough conversations, right? To where someone, you know, that I'm having a conversation with, you know, it gives them maybe some level of comfort, is what I'll say. Because it was very tough. I didn't know how I was going to deal with it, and you know, I had a lot of tough moments, and I'm still dealing with it, obviously. But no, you know, talking about it and knowing what I know about this community, the phenomena itself, just the evidence that there is more to what we understand is life, has given me comfort and allowed me to comfort others, I guess is a quick way to say it. But yeah, so with that being said, we want to send condolences out to Renee Cruz. And yeah, appreciate you, Miss Catherine. Condolences to my family as well. Appreciate it. My mother would definitely appreciate that as well, so I'll pass it on. So we had to take a moment to do that. I'm sorry. We'll get back on track here, though. All right. So we just played the video, right? We had a new drop of UFO files, and I'd like to know what you think about it. Do you think that this is part two of the Nothing Burger? Do you see this as traction? Do you see this really going anywhere? It only came out today, obviously, so I haven't even had a chance to dive deep into it. I've seen a few of the videos, but I haven't had a real chance to get all the way into it. And I'd love to know if you guys have. Hold on. Trying to beat this cold's trying to beat me down. Let me know if you got how you guys feel about the drop of UFO documents. Do you think it's going anywhere? As we wait for that, I think I don't, it's cool that they're releasing information. Yeah, Shaq Valet need a week to look through it because I think there will be some nuggets in there. But I do feel like as well that what are we really getting outside of things that Jeremy Corbell or other whistleblowers were able to release before? Like, are we getting anything different from that? It's just coming, I guess directly from the source, maybe? Is that the way to look at it? Because essentially, we're just dealing with the same type of videos the whistleblowers were releasing, Big Congress was occasionally releasing, documents that we were getting already from FOIA through like the Black Vault. So, like, is this really anything different than what we've already been getting? I just don't feel it. I do feel like it's cool as far as chain of custody goes, maybe for those out there who are new to the subject and they're like, oh, wow, this came straight from the government. So for them, maybe there's something there. But I think for the rest of us, it's we're just getting the same stuff that we would have normally gotten by waiting for Jeremy. Now, maybe that takes away from what they're doing too, right? Because between Jeremy Corbell, Ross Coulthard, and others who have dropped some of this data, there would be 6 months between some of their releases. There would be, Jeremy Corbell may give us a drop every year. So, maybe with the government, on some levels, you could look at it as maybe expediting the releases. But then, as the gentleman said in the newsreel, we're not getting a lot of data attached to it, right? So it's like, okay, we have the data, but we don't have all the data. So how can we try to figure out if this is prosaic or this is not? And I think with that, with it being released in that fashion, I think it creates a situation where we get a lot of arguing within the community on what this really is. Kind of just muddies the water for the conversation to happen. What happens if we get releases for the next few weeks and none of them have the appropriate data attached to the videos, or we can't really figure out what goes with what, right? Then we end up with a pile of stuff that's really, maybe someone's going to take the time to kind of maybe piece it together, but at the same time, it's not really transparent as far as what this links to and why is this special, right? Because there's a video in there which clearly looks like a balloon being popped or blown up. I don't know what shot the balloon, but something shot a balloon and it kind of just blows up. If you leave it up to me, it just looks like a balloon being shot, right? And so is that something anomalous? Why is that included in the mix? Right? So you got to start asking some of those questions. Like, why would you put a video of a balloon being popped? And I downloaded the files, the video files. I don't know how easy it'll be to, let me see if we can get a few playing in here. And maybe we can look at this in real time. Let me grab a video file here. Oh, okay, hold on. Let me, I got them in zip drives, or let me extract these. Okay. Now, if I would, I don't know if this is how it's supposed to be. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, looks like they're loading up here. All right, I'm going to let those load. I'm going to try to put those into a playlist, and then maybe we can look at a few of those. But once again, the problem with this is, for me, is that it just really seems like this is being dumped on us. You know, it would help maybe, I guess maybe, one thing and maybe we can watch that one, the Jeremy Corbell video where it shows the UFO moving through the clouds, like the movie Nope. That one, I think, was included in the dump. And I've always wanted more information about that particular video. So I guess we'll have to see what information they included, if any, because apparently they're doing the video dump and then the document dump. And then some of these documents are supposedly correlating with some of the videos, but there's no way to know unless you've gone through all the documents to determine if or which one of these documents pertains to a video. Yeah, there's a lot of videos in here, so let me see if they're done dumping here. It's about 5 gigs worth of video. All right, maybe that's it. Let me see. Let me try to get all these. All right, let me make this bigger for you guys here. And we'll kind of go through some till we find, maybe till, I guess they're like all like a few seconds long. Let me go ahead and see if I can get these full screen for you guys. And apparently that's the UFO on the lower left corner, moving by those boats pretty fast. And it looks pretty low. Looks like it's pretty close to the water. I would think if it was that low, whoever's on those boats, yeah, because you can see a shadow beneath it, it would appear it's pretty close to the surface of the water. There's no way to zoom in on that, but you'd have to wonder if they saw that. Did they see that? Or try to get to another one here. So once again, know it. Ooh, wow. Here's different filters. But no information on distance or any of those things, right? This is what we've needed in the past to kind of determine on if it's parallax or is it really moving that fast. But that's amazing. If that is what it's depicting to be, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it literally. What else can you say? But obviously, we need to know distance, right? Because we don't want to just say, "Oh, that's anomalous." We need to know how far it is. We need to know, determine the speed, the size, to determine if this is what it is, right? One thing you don't want to do is walk away from this and they're like, we're all in on this being anomalous, and then it ends up being something explainable, right? I think that's the slippery slope, and we got to make sure that none of us do that. Now, you might watch some other shows and they're all in on this, like, oh my God, that's anomalous, it's a UFO. Well, let's take a moment and really determine if that's what it is we're looking at, right? Now, we'll say the behavior based on the information that we have at the moment, it looks to be definitely something that we should be looking further into. I don't think so, Miss Catherine. I don't think that these are the videos Luna are requested, because according to Luna and what's the other guy's name, Burleson, they would be videos that you would have no doubt about what it was you were seeing, and I don't think these are them, because I think they would definitely be on the news right now talking about it, but I don't think these are them. Yeah, I mean, and that's fast, right? On the face of it, you're like, whoa. But then you get to the video where it looks literally like a balloon with a string hanging from the bottom, and then something that's blowing it up. So if they put videos like that in here, you would have to come to the conclusion that that wasn't likely the only one they put in this group. Like, there's definitely other ones that they just put in here without validating if it was something anomalous or not. And I think that hurts, if anything, right? There's supposed to be this group called Arrow, right? That's supposed to take this data, look into it, determine what they think, and we should be getting the videos that come through them, even though we know they're not doing what they're supposed to do on their end. There should still be, we should be seeing videos that have been tested and looked at through the lens of a skeptic, right? Because we need that. That is definitely part of what we need. Yeah, I mean, by all indications, right, this is something anomalous, but it still leaves us in that gray space. And it's like, is that where they want to leave us on this conversation? You would have to say yes. Because I think we all agree that it's not in their best interest to disclose. All right, this one's almost over. Let's move on to the next video here. Paramar, most of the info from that first tranche was from Arrow. Then the White House decided they were cutting Arrow out of the process. Hey, okay, good to know. Now, I gotta admit, and I'm not gonna jump off the cliff and say so yet, but if you've ever seen my UFO video, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, because I know they have to have data on some of the objects that I film myself. And so and these are acting a little different, but I'm looking at formations, objects in formation, and maybe I'll tie those things together at a later time. But I think this one is, we're pretty much done with this video here. And let's move on to the next one here. Are we seeing the speed up and slow down? Is that what this is doing? And I don't know what I was watching. Let me actually come up real quick here. I don't know what I was watching a show, and I can't remember which one it was, but someone gave a good explanation on why UFOs always come out blurry, right? So the way they explained it, maybe someone here will remember where this came from, because I want to give credit to the person that said it, but they said essentially when you're looking at a UFO, if you're looking at a real UFO, and I'm not into the government has recreated these, I still don't believe that, but they're saying if you're looking at a UFO, you're looking at an object that is surrounding itself with a bubble, essentially, which allows it to behave the way that it behaves. And so they equated it to if you were trying to take a picture of a fish in the water, right? You're not going to get a clear picture of the fish. You'll get a picture, but it won't be clear because you're taking a picture through something like water. Whereas if you were in the water taking the picture, you get a crystal clear picture. And that makes sense to me. I could see that, right? But the only thing with that is then why would you be able to see it clear with your naked eye? What would be the difference between your naked eye looking at one versus what your camera is capturing? It's the only thing I would have to say about that. I mean, and this, like I said, we're being left with a lot of these to say, yeah, that's weird. But what is it? Like, what are the conditions? And to go back on the, Miss Captain Jones is asking about the 46 videos. The Rep Luna was talking about, I think some of the ones she was talking about were actual videos, like just raw videos of an object. Now, here's the weird thing about this. This is what if anyone's ever seen my video, let me bring it back a little bit to a particular frame. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna bring this. Okay, so if anyone has ever watched my UFO footage, there are 47 objects in the sky all together in a formation, and you see how this object in this particular frame is showing this black object protruding from the bottom, right? So the UFOs I filmed, 47 of them all had this exact same look. Now, if you remember my video, and once again, I'm glad I'm going to have to mark this video so I can put it in the in the montage I put together. But if you go back and watch my UFO sighting, I do a freeze frame on some of the frames, and you'll see that they all are white objects, oblong, almost egg-shaped, and they all have these little black objects that protrude out the bottom, each one of them. And they retract. They retract, they go in, they come out, because I have other videos of the same objects in different parts of the world where you can see this part of it moving. So on the face of it, without having a lot of data on this particular video right here, this lines up a lot with the UFO sighting that I had. And I'm going to separate all this and do a separate video where we kind of pinpoint that. But this, if you've seen my UFO video and you see this frame, very, very familiar as far as the behavior and the look of the actual object. So let me go ahead and move on to the next video here. Let's see, I think we're on this one here. All right, looks like maybe the same object or same type of object. And let me make sure. Kind of skim through this a little bit. All right, let's move on to the next one here. And this is the first time I'm seeing a lot of these, guys. So right with you right now. First time I'm seeing some of these. I saw some just like everybody else. Yeah, this was the one, right? This is the one. It is creepy, right? Because it reminds me of the movie Nope. It reminds me of Nope. And you have to wonder if Jordan Peele saw this video in the making of the film. And are those white dots anomalous objects as well? Imagine being the one to capture that on film and seeing that happen. How creepy is that? How creepy is that to see this thing moving through the clouds like that? Stalking, right? Almost stalking, almost. Purposely trying to hide. What's that all about? How does that make you feel about UFO disclosure? How does that make you feel about what we're going to meet on the other end of this, right? Adam, figure it out. We live on the third rock from a sun, and we're surprised we're not alone. Right. Right. I agree with you there. All right. So that's the creepy video. I got to make sure I mark that because that's one of the ones I want to put in the video, but that is freaking creepy, dude. Let me just run it one more time because I'm glad this came out, right? Because Corbell released this. You know, he's had a good history on what he's been releasing, but this is coming directly from the government. So to know this came from them, we know that's the UFO. I mean, we could, if I were to just put all my money on it, I'd say that's definitely a UFO. I'd like to see a lot of people try to explain what that is. That can't be a balloon. That can't be just a simple drone. It can't be any of the things that, are the normal explanations. Doesn't work. Doesn't work for that one. Very interesting. Let's go to the next one here. We'll go to a few more. And take a quick, let's see, I'll do like 2 or 3 more. We'll finish this row. And I want to show you something real quick. Richard Minnis said, don't think it's creepy at all. To know something like that is over your head in the cloud cover, especially after you saw the movie. Nope, I don't know, Richard Minnick. Appreciate you. Adam B, thanks, Social Dig, for understanding and providing the channel. No problem, man. I'm just trying to do, get to the answers like we all are. Appreciate you for coming in. Roger Murray, May 20th, 1967, the Falcon Lake UFO incident. Thanks for keeping us informed and educated on this topic. Roger Murray, always awesome for that. Right here, I still haven't seen the UFO. Maybe I'm missing it. Lex Diaz, appreciate you coming on in. Yeah, I see something zipping in the left side there. And I really feel like, obviously they have the video that just, where we wouldn't even need to see what's under these redacted spaces. They have video that says, crystal clear video that says, this is not from here. So I would like to see some of those. I really feel like if your intent is disclosure, then you're going to bring some of those. So hopefully we get some of those. But I think so far the most compelling, there's a couple that we've looked at so far that I feel is pretty compelling. Yeah, I agree, Richard Minnick. They have video of ETs. They have everything. They do. And so that's what I mean. If you're saying disclosure, if you're talking about disclosure, it can't just be these videos, guys, for the government. It can't just be this. This isn't UFO disclosure, right? This isn't UFO disclosure. I refuse to crown some guy as a disclosure president because it's an oxymoron. Disclosure president, that's an oxymoron. I don't think those two go together. But let's check out the next video because I want to show you guys something else, and we'll look at some more of these videos in a moment. This was the video of the, I think either the submarine video. Oh no, it's just like an oil tanker. I don't think I've seen this one. I don't think I've seen this one. So what are we seeing? What are we looking for? Do you see anything anomalous? I don't see anything yet. That zoom is crazy though. But what are we looking for here? Is it that? Is it that? Is it that? The shining object? Is it that ball of light? Is that what that was? That is, if that's what that is, let me fast forward this video. I want to see what it's trying to focus on here. All right, it's following that smaller object, but I want to go back. Is that light what it was originally tracking? That's what I want to know. There is no light, and then all of a sudden there's a light. Okay. Is that light the anomalous object? Okay, let me pause. Is that light the anomalous object, guys? Is that supposed to be the anomalous object? Because if that's supposed to be the anomalous object, that's definitely strange. Yeah, I think that's what they're tracking, is that because it's way above the ship, it just comes out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't think it's the moon. It just came out of nowhere. It's super bright. You can see the reflection on the water. You know, you have some of those cases where some of those fishermen or sailors will talk about a ball of light that'll come up out of the water. Like, was this a USO? Or if this is the anomalous thing that just showed up over this ship, this is what a lot of people talk about. I can't think of the case on the one of those Navy ships where the guys said they came out onto the deck and there was this big ball that looked like the sun over the deck, and it was like a reddish color and it was kind of roiling like the sun, like a plasma ball. Is this what we're seeing right here? Is this like an example of that? And if like I would like to know more about this video. If that's the anomalous thing, if that's what we're supposed to be looking at, yeah, I would like to know more about that because that's pretty. If that can't be explained, maybe it's just the spotlight from a helicopter coming in, you know, to land on the deck. Could be simple as that. Is that the anomalous thing? Doesn't really give us any detail later in the video, but I think this is definitely one to look back on and try to see what what the explanation is for this. Very strange. That's strange. On the face of it, it's strange. Now, maybe could it be just simply explained away? Maybe. But for now, that's pretty insane. So let's look at what else do we have? Look at a couple more before I show. I want to show this other video. And it's kind of exhibiting those outward beams, just like the last object we just looked at. So is it the same thing? Is it, different part of the same video, or what would cause that effect? Maybe that's something we can get some more information on. Yeah, I don't have the ability to do that right now. Magneticus is just playing through the streaming platform here. Have to do that later. So okay, I mean this is kind of strange. Let me see if it does anything different here. Okay, all right. Yeah, that was a cool video. Let me check this next one here real quick. Once again, not knowing how far this is from the ground is going to not let us know how fast this is potentially going or slow. And maybe they'll zoom in on it. We'll see closer what this is. But I think if they keep doing this, I think if they keep releasing videos without all the information, we're going to be spending a lot of time trying to put pieces together to these anomalous videos, right? To kind of disprove them or put them in the anomalous bucket. And I think that ties our hands for a period of time. So I think that goes against what we're really trying to do, right? Because if we're going to get a dump of information, we should have all of the relevant information they can be given with this. Because who's going to spend the next 6 months to a year trying to gather more data on each one of these video releases, right? So is this being released in this way to kind of tie your hands up for a while, to keep you busy, just to find out that half of these can be explained or 80% of these are explainable, right? Is that what's going on here? Hey, she did fish cheese spread. Getting better, getting better. Trying to stay out the way. Be ready for tomorrow's show for sure. Appreciate you checking in. Hey, Jessica S. Thanks for coming on in. But yeah, once again, I think after 3, 4, 5 weeks, if they do this every week, we're going to have hella videos that we have to, validate and connect the dots on, which I think is crazy. Because that's like filling your plate up, right, with a bunch of BS, and using your time Like, where are you going to get the records on these? Now, do you have to FOIA some information to connect the dots, or what would you have to do to move forward on this data? If this is what you have, how can you move forward on this? Like, what would it take for you to move forward and get more information on this video, right? In particular, where do you even start? That's the question. All right, now I want to put that on pause. We looked at the first, and we'll look at some more after this, but I just wanted to, there's a couple things here, right? So I know you guys saw Neil deGrasse Tyson recently, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson step out and talk about what do we do once UFOs land, right? So it appears on the surface that he may be taking a step in the direction of saying, agreeing that UFOs are here and present. What did you guys think about that? What did you guys think about Neil deGrasse Tyson stepping out, promoting the book, obviously? But what did you think about him stepping forward and attempting to embrace a scenario where the alien presence is here? Did you feel it was, disingenuous? Or do you feel he has a good intent in this? What were your thoughts on that? Thumbs down. Shaq Valet said thumbs down. It came off that way, right? It came off like, I don't know. And just, I think I do have a video we can watch real quick that kind of tells the story on that real quick here. This is kind of what he said. He said this on the Chris Cuomo show, and he kind of said this at the beginning of the show. So I'm just going to play like the first minute of it just so you can kind of hear it from his own mouth, right? Let's kind of see what he said here. Let me see if I can get this up here. All right, this is how the show starts off. We don't have to watch much of it, but this is what was said.
Take me to your leader. Perspectives on your first alien encounter. Who would you expect to write a book like that? Maybe a journalist, in quotes, maybe somebody who had crop circles pop up allegedly in their backyard, or someone who saw something but is from a very limited set of English-speaking countries? Nope. One of the most famous, and in my opinion, foremost scientists in America, Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, professor, physicist, astrophysicist, science guy. What does it mean that he is writing about UAPs? Well, he just decided to turn the whole thing on its head, and he says the time has come. For what? I'm Chris Cuomo. Welcome to the Chris Cuomo Project. I had to sit down with the esteemed professor because how is an astrophysicist talking to UAP talk? And why is he producing a work that takes this really, really seriously? Here's the answer. Because it is. Don't take it from me. Take it from the science guy.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Grass Tyson.
Dude, thanks for having me back.
I got to tell you, especially these days, you are just everything. You are something I've been watching, to get ready for this. I was looking at so much social media about where you've been. And of course, there's a new book out. That's why I hooked them. But the idea of, and here's what's so interesting to me about the new book is that it's going to shock people. And I'll tell you why. You are so valuable right now because of how you apply physics and how you use science and
critical thinking.
And critical thinking, right? I wear the shirt, you live it, right? So you don't need the shirt. It'd be
I don't
weird.
need it.
If you had it, be like, duh, you know, might as well, your shirt might as well say Neil on it. But, you know, so there's such value in that. And then this book comes out, and I would have never, now I know you personally, but I would have never imagined, if I didn't know Neil deGrasse Tyson, well, he's not talking extraterrestrials. He's the debunker. He's, don't bring that my way. I'm an astrophysicist and I'm married to one. And I think all my kids do that also. So I'm like 2-3 generations deep of sciency. Don't bring that noise my way. You say quite the opposite, my friend. Why would you write about extraterrestrial life?
Yeah. So what began to happen, if you go back long enough, not that long, a few decades ago, many of the accounts of UFOs and alien abductions and things were people who didn't otherwise have title or integrity that their station in life would grant them. There was the farmer in his back 40. There was drunken revelers at 2 a.m. staggering out of the bar. Mm-hmm. And it would be their accounts of UFOs that would get reported on. And beginning a few years ago, and all of you in the media just ate it up, when various whistleblowers and insiders.
News Nation has covered this more than anybody and had more of the whistleblowers than anyone else.
There you go.
And they ain't farmers.
There you go. They're not farmers. They're not drunken revelers. And there's a parade of them. Many of them former, ex-military, intelligence agency officers, and under oath in front of Congress. By the way, this is the last and only time I remember in the past decade where both houses of Congress were just together with one investigative purpose. That was I was quite impressed by that. Aliens brought us together is what that was. So when these people of high rank started reporting, I said, all right, I have to jump in here. I can't stay silent. I have to be a participant in what's going on.
Because of what happened to you when you got beamed up? and you went up there and meet a wrestler? Just because I came down as this?
Just because I wanted to be beamed up didn't mean I got beamed up. Okay.
It would explain some things. Because from the wrestling captain in high school to being, Captain Science, it was a little bit of a leap.
Okay, you think they put a chip in me when I was up there?
That's a theory.
No, I actually had a theory. You have a hypothesis. Okay.
Oh, listen to this.
Let's keep that straight.
I'll take an axiom. So you decided to jump.
A lemma? You want me a lemma? So that was a good routine. We should take that on the road.
Yeah, it's about all I got, though. I really can't stay up with you for very long.
So I just thought we have to anchor some of this conversation. And little did I realize I knew this, but I didn't feel it until I decided to put words to page. For decades, I've been contemplating Hollywood's attempts to portray aliens.
All right, that's about enough. I think that's about enough of that. So what do we have here? Some people out here saying Lex Diaz is saying, just straight up, he's lying. No, he's lying. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's how I feel about it. Lex Diaz says he didn't come to this conclusion. No, he didn't. Lex Diaz, he got approached by government people just like Eric Weinstein. Okay. And I'm glad you brought that up. So there's two sides to this. No, I don't think he simply turned over a new leaf, because I saw a recent YouTube video where he pretty much just taking the same stance. kind of, I think, speaking to the fact, because I think he hears everyone saying, oh, he just did a 180. He still holds the same idea. So he's framing this in a way, obviously, to align with the book that he's selling. Now, we do need those type of individuals to join the conversation. So even if they're going to join the conversation late, it's better than joining it than not joining it at all. So I would hope that he eventually does want to really join the conversation, because the phenomenon is real. There isn't any, and maybe here's how I feel about it. Even for those who don't subscribe to UFOs being here visiting us, usually it's because they have not had any sort of experience, right? They haven't had any sort of contact event. It's as simple as walking outside in the next 5 minutes and having one of those experiences where it's like, where you get that moment, like a lot of you have had, myself included, where it's like, oh, that was weird, and that is not from here. Once you have that, your perspective has to change. So, theoretically, would it be so far off to have someone do a 180 overnight? I would say no. It's not really far off. We know they're up there, and we know if you have the right type of sighting where you can't really explain it as anything else, and you run down the list of things that you think it potentially could be, like we all have done, and the list comes up empty, then I think you can find yourself on the other side of the conversation pretty quickly. And, I would anticipate, and with a lot of skeptics out there, that if they haven't had a sighting, that it's pretty likely that they may walk outside in the next 5 minutes and have that sighting that lets them know within themselves that there is something to this. And then all of a sudden you got somebody talking on the other side of the conversation. I think it could be that simple. Now, obviously, because he has a book at the same time of this revelation, is going to lead a lot of people to feel like this is the reason why he's saying this. And I'm not far off with you on that. Now, I will say this. As someone just mentioned a moment ago, I think it was, who was it, Lex Diaz? Yeah. He got approached by government people just like Eric Weinstein. So, Eric Weinstein, truthfully, if you've ever historically watched his conversations, I think he's been more open-minded. If we were going to compare the two, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Eric Weinstein, I think Eric Weinstein has been more open to the idea that there could be something here. And there's just some prerequisites. There are some things that he has to see, or he has to be told or shown. Maybe the fact that, he sees everyone in the government talking about UFOs and releasing files, and then, oh, here we go. We do have some weird videos released in some of these drops. Maybe that was enough for him to be like, there's definitely something to this. So let's take and this was more of the compelling one. That's why I wanted to save this one. So Neil deGrasse Tyson, okay, got a book you're selling as well. That could go either way. Could you have had a sighting? Sure. Weinstein, though, for me, felt different. So you saw Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let's see what Eric Weinstein said on the Jesse Michaels podcast.
I want to talk about UFOs, a subject which, if I brought this up with you 3 years ago, you probably would have said, Jesse, shut the hell up.
Well, you did try to bring it up. What did happen?
You said, Jesse, shut the hell up.
Yeah, except I didn't use the word hell.
No, you didn't. But
Use another word.
you know, I think reasonably, you were like, this is wacky and crazy. And
It's dumb.
It's dumb.
It's incredibly dumb. The idea that you would have phenomena that can only be seen by special people and that there's no good video of it, and we have a world full of smartphones, we've got video of absolutely everything, is completely stupid and insane.
Yeah.
And I was wrong.
What's changed since?
9 pages came out from the Pentagon, 6 of which are relevant. 3, I think, that, it's like a cover and a back page. I don't know what it is. And it's very clear in that report that report was meant to be as dull as is humanly possible about the most exciting thing that you could possibly imagine, which is that either we're engaged in an incredible psychological operation coming out of the Pentagon, or some people inside the Pentagon believe with near certainty that we've been contacted and observed by extraterrestrials visiting Earth.
That's pretty insane. And what's really crazy is that the data is locked up. You just said, we talked about the government is not attracting our best and brightest scientists. Why are the top physicists in the country, why are the top astronomers in the country not looking at
Nobody
this problem
that I know who's very good at physics or astrophysics or astronomy or anything knows what the hell's going on. And I've never seen anything remotely like this, Jesse. I thought you were completely wrong. This is a situation where you would not come off of this point, and I was convinced that you were brain damaged on this one issue. No, I really was.
It's fair.
And you were right. I was wrong.
I appreciate that.
I don't understand it. It doesn't really... The key thing is whatever's going on is non-Copernican. We're not in a situation we all have equal access to the same thing. Either it's a psyop and almost nobody has information about it, or there's something out there that fits this paradigm that is not trying to be noticed. And I've given the example of North Sentinel Island, where India manages North Sentinel Island but doesn't land there. And in such a circumstance, there would be a Fermi paradox among the natives of North Sentinel Island. Why don't we see anybody almost ever?
Right.
And the answer is, well, you're sort of owned, and you're being protected from anybody landing on your shores. Now, if that's what's going on, that's astounding.
That's astounding.
That is astounding. And to hear Weinstein have that sort of revelation is kind of mind-blowing, because you've seen him be super skeptical about, the whole thing, but he states he's wrong. Now, he's not selling a book. I feel like he has had a genuine revelation that these things are real, and that's a beautiful thing, because there's going to be more and more of this taking place. More and more of these people that we need to join the conversation that are going to have that moment, that aha moment, that we didn't think was going to come, but yet here it is. Now, I would love to see, using that mind that he has, I would love to hear him use that mind into beginning to start to answer some of the questions now. I think the hard part is over as far as that goes with Weinstein. So we need more and more of that to happen. Now, you can look at Neil deGrasse and say it's because of the book. I probably agree. But regardless, we need more and more of those minds to join this conversation and help figure it out, because these things are here. And I think in that brief conversation there, Weinstein admits it. And now this raises other questions for him. Burning questions. The same way we get together and we have conversations and we attempt to move the needle, throwing scenarios and ideas out there. I think, for him, this is now a rabbit hole he gets to jump down and maybe bring some brilliant points to the table or some brilliant ideas that kind of helps fill in some of these blanks. So I really think it's a win for the UFO community to begin to have some of those minds come on over and have the conversation. Still open-minded, still open to it being explainable, but then also very open to it being something we don't get or something that may not be from here. I think that's a big step. Now, leading into this movie, Disclosure Day, I think is going to be another big step. If you've heard Steven Spielberg and what he's talked about, as we knew closer and closer to the movie, he would be stepping out there and doing a press run for the movie. And we kind of get some good insight on this particular video that I clipped, where he kind of talks about his feelings. And we speculated, on Close Encounters of the Third Kind and it being a movie where, he really leaned into advisors and people who really had their pulse on the UFO subject. And we speculated that being that he's had this time to come up with this film, that he, is watching the developments just like we are, with Lou Elizondo coming out, the hearings, all these different things, being a viewer of that, and then feeling like, okay, now it's time for me to add my voice to the conversation. In the title, Disclosure Day, being something that, is going to, from his perspective, hopefully using advisors, fill in a lot of those other blanks. So it's like we're coming around the corner. Like we're getting all the pieces in place to really have the conversation. And I have a show coming up soon with the Reverend Michael J.S. Carter. And we're going to be talking about the crossroads of disclosure being something that's potentially imminent, and in religion, because it's definitely that conversation has to come up. We still haven't fully had that conversation in the public. And it's almost time for that. Like all the other shoes are dropping, coming into place. Religion is going to be one of the next big conversations we have, along with consciousness and what that means. And so setting the stage for that should be an awesome show, especially it'll be like a week after the Disclosure Day movie comes out. Also, the day after, so if you guys are going to watch it the first day, comes out June 12th, on a Friday, June 12th. So that Saturday, June 13th, we'll be right here doing a show on the After Hours radio show. We're going to bring in Kevin Day. So you got Disclosure Day, you got Kevin Day, and Kevin Day was part of one of the most, comprehensive, compelling modern day UFO sightings. He saw these things with his own eyes, saw these things on radar, had this whole emotional experience behind it. And I think he'd be the perfect guy to come in on and talk on the day after the Disclosure Day movie comes out. So June 13th, right here on this channel. So hopefully everybody comes and watches that show, because I really want to get him in a space where he really gives his opinion on the rollout of disclosure and what he really feels. Is he satisfied with how things are rolling out? I think a lot of people aren't speaking to Kevin right now for whatever reason. I think he's one of those, they're skipping over him to talk to other people, but he was literally hands-on with this whole Tic Tac experience. Like, this guy was a main piece of that whole story, right? And for us, that was the modern day UFO incident, or the one that was more spoken about, that kind of technically led us into the 5 observables and into the modern day conversation that we're having. So it's going to be awesome to have him on talking about that the day after the Disclosure Day movie comes out. So go watch it on the first day. If you're going to watch it, try to go watch it Friday or even Saturday morning. So when we come in and have that conversation June 13th, you come in already knowing what the movie is about, and we'll be laying that out. But this was Steven Spielberg, a clip where he was talking about giving some insight on Disclosure Day, and he's going to play a little clip of the trailer. Hopefully we don't get flagged for it. If we do, oh well, we'll kind of have to cut it out afterwards, but we're going to try to get away with it. Steven Spielberg, don't strike us. Stephen Colbert, don't strike us. CBS, don't strike us. It is fair use. We're really trying to further the conversation. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'm glad to hear him speak that way, because I definitely felt like he would have approached this as a very important subject, as something that is very important. And it looks like I did get flagged, but we should be coming back on hopefully in a minute. And yeah, that just means that they didn't want us to play it, but we'll go ahead and play it. We should be back online here in just a minute. Not yet, not yet. We'll see what happens. Yeah. So we'll see what's going on. I think I don't know if they're going to cancel the show for that. But I'll tell you what. It's all about Disclosure Day. I'm going to promote the movie. We knew that maybe they would try to do something like that. For us playing that clip of the video, hopefully it comes back on live. We shall see. We'll kind of wait around and see what happens here. And we'll see what happens. It's kind of tough because you just want to add commentary, but I'll say, this is what I will say. It could be CBS, right? Because CBS is obviously ditching the Colbert Show, so it's probably CBS dropping us on the copyright. That's okay. I'm willing to take that one on the chin if that's what it is. And we'll just have to do an edit on it. And we may be back here, back online. That's what they do. They reach out, they do things like this. It's a shame that you have to tiptoe around content. I mean, it's obvious we're doing a show where the content that we just played, we could have done without. We didn't have to have it in there. It just adds to the conversation. It's promoting the movie, so it's a shame that they would block the live stream like that. But I think we are back right now. I don't know. Let me know. Thumbs up if you see us back in the building. Thumbs up if we're back live. I think we're back live. Let us know if we're here. Let us know if we're back here. Yep. So, and we got it off. We got it off. I may have to end up clipping that out of the final version. But we at least got to talk about it. I knew that maybe they might do something like that. But all in all, we can go without that clip. Doesn't really matter. I think the overall message is that Steven Spielberg, leading up to this whole release, I've said, and to hear him speak in the way that he spoke tonight, just kind of further assures me that his approach to the film is not going to be someone. I know I talked to someone, I can't remember who it was, who said that they thought that it would just be another movie, right? Their idea of what Disclosure Day would be, I feel like it's going to be an important part of the conversation. This other person, I can't remember who it is, but they thought it would just be another movie along with other movies, right? But I think you can get from what he just said, this is important to him. And it's important that it fall, and he's talking all the right things, right? So this is, I really feel like, and we'll do a review on this. Obviously, we won't be playing clips and things of that nature, but I'm glad to see that we are back live. So we're gonna go ahead and play a couple more of these videos from the UFO release here that just happened today, and then we're gonna get up out of here like we always do. They'll probably send me a notice telling me I gotta remove some of that. So maybe we'll do that. I'll move this over to the member side. But let's go ahead and take a look at a few more of these UFO videos before we get up out of here. This is from the release that just happened today on the government's website here. So let's bring them up and enjoy. Another anomalous object. A lot of this stuff reminds me, if you've ever watched our friend Tom King, and a lot of the stuff he captures, he has cameras on his roof pointed up at the sky that record 24 hours a day. And they have trackers on them. So anytime he catches something anomalous, he gets alerted. And he has so much footage of things just like this. Obviously, it looks like that's water, right? That's water. Those are clouds. So we know there's probably at least 10,000 feet between the clouds and the water. So no telling how big the object is or how fast it is actually traveling. Let me move on to the next video here. Wow. Yeah. Tell me that's a bird. Please tell me that's a bird. That definitely is not a bird. And let's move on to the next video here. Interesting. Okay, this is regular video, it seems like almost. What's the target here? What are we looking at? What the hell is that? The bottom of the screen, is that what we're looking at? What's the anomalous object, guys? It says very hard without context here. Yeah, that's lens flare for sure. So what is the anomalous object? What are we looking at? That's without the whole context, that's we're left to assume, right? We have no clue what we're looking at here. So, is it those dots? Is it those? Okay, there's a dot right there. So is it all those little white dots, or is it just this one? Okay, yeah, they're focusing on this object. Hopefully, we get a zoom in. Okay, is this like jellyfish? Is it giving jellyfish UAP vibes, or what is that? Definitely seems to have something hanging from it, possibly, maybe. All right, next video. Wonder, is this one of those morphine objects? I mean, keeping it real, a lot of this, when it's anomalous like that, it doesn't make a lot of sense because I think a lot of people outside of us, because we've seen weird things like we know the different shapes. But when you have somebody coming in from the outside, they're thinking discs, they're thinking like saucers, right? Whereas this looks nothing like a saucer, so I think that's part of the whole skeptic thing because they're like, dude, it doesn't look like any like a anything you would consider a vehicle, so it must be one of these other things, right? Now, if this was the shape of a like the sports model UFO, right? That Bob Lazar talks about, if it was just the silhouette of a flying saucer, I think you could, but because it has this weird, strange shape, I think it is for a lot of people to wrap their mind around this being some sort of off-world vehicle for them is just like it doesn't connect because it's just this weird thing. But I think that's where the 4K comes in because I can only imagine what this looks like in 4K. it probably looks so strange and freaky that there is no question. But because it's using this filter, I think there's a million things that people will try to go down the path. And, I think some people talk about Jetpack Man, which I still think is an anomalous thing. Jetpack Man. This gives me Jetpack Man feelings here. Jellyfish, Jetpack Man, sort of in that realm. Just skipping through it because this video is pretty long. It's like a 10-minute video. Okay, it's not doing anything super strange that we haven't seen already. Let's move on to the next one here. See what we get here. Some of these obviously are going to show the same characteristics as some of the previous videos that we've already watched. So if it's exhibiting the same behavior as previous videos, we'll kind of just move on to the next. But this looks like a trail of objects here. And yet, Lex Diaz on the previous object, it did appear to be some sort of jet coming out the bottom. I did see that. Okay, here we go. It's doing something weird here. Got like 5 objects. Once again, if you see my UFO video, the objects were multiple objects and they did this weird thing that this is doing, kind of going in and out of a formation. And based on my own video, I could say this is probably likely, definitely something that's not explainable. But yeah, back to the jet thing, right, Lex Diaz? I think there have been previous sightings like Lonnie Zamora, I think even Cash Landrum, where they talk about this fire coming out of the bottom of the object as it lifted up and then going to like a second stage where the fire stopped and then the object just shot off. I think it's very likely that some of these could have some sort of fire type of propulsion as one of the methods that it's able to use, just based off of previous historical things that we've seen. All right, let's zip through this. Anything else weird here? Gonna move on to the next video. All right, this is a pretty short video. I don't see the anomalous object yet. But this is obviously from pretty high up. You can tell this is probably in space, or I don't know, maybe 50,000 feet up or more. Look at those objects down there. They appear to be moving pretty fast. One shoots off pretty quick, leaves the others There's another. Oh, okay, so meeting up with another group. My question has always been, why? What is the need for there to be so many of these objects? Like, what is the purpose? Why would there be so many of these different objects out there? It's another one, a different video. Wow. Right angle turns, man, all day. You know, balloons don't do that. Drones can do that. But going back to this, as we let this video play, I'm under the impression a lot of these objects that we see are probes or drone type objects that are like released out of other, motherships, or if you want to call it that. Most of these things we see, I think 90%, probably higher than that, probably 95% of these things that we see are unmanned. Like, I don't believe they have biological objects in these things. I believe they are being controlled by something else. So that takes me back into the conversation when you have the government step out and they're talking about drones. Technically, they would be drones, right? But they would be extraterrestrial drones. They wouldn't be, human-made drones. So to call them drones per se, I think is a way to get around. So you're speaking the truth about what they are, but you'll easily say, okay, drones must mean quadcopters or human-made drones. I just don't think that that's the case. They're definitely anomalous, but I don't think they're manned, which means they're unmanned aerial systems, or you can call them drones, but they are drones that aren't from here. My whole thing is why are there so many of them? What is the purpose to have so many of these things moving around the planet at any given time? Why? See, that can lead you down a path where the explanations for why may not be the greatest heartwarming explanations, right? The only reason, like, if we were to go visit a planet, we wouldn't come in force, right? We have maybe a ship, maybe a couple of probes that come off of that ship. We'd have a handful of objects that would be seen in some other, like we go to Mars. We'll have the main shuttle. We'll probably have some satellites that are moving around the planet. We'll have some rovers on the ground, a few rovers. But we wouldn't inundate the planet with probes and rovers, because that, if we did that, that would be a different sort of stance, right? It would look different. It would go from, hey, we're just interested, or, we're just curious. It would go from a curiosity standpoint into more of a, we're trying to monitor everything. And then you can go into the whys from there. Maybe each orb is attached to the consciousness of a different NHI. I think that could be the case. Then if that's the case, then that tells you how many different extraterrestrials would be present potentially here on this planet at once. That's another scary thought. Like, why would the numbers be so high? Unless they live here, Why else would the numbers be so high? Why would you have the need for so many individual extraterrestrials to be here? What's the plan behind that? Why do you need numbers like that? And I think that's where the conversation needs to go. Yeah, they're here, but there's hell of them. Why are there so many? Why do they feel the need to have so many here at one time? That's a scary question to answer. Because it doesn't really, when you think about why, the conversation can only really go so many different ways. All right, let's move into the next video. It's a lot of one-off craft. Let me zoom in here. All right, 5 different devices, just like the other video. So we'll move on to the next one here. So we know they're in numbers. We know that. Let's see, what do we got here? Ooh, okay. What do we got here? It's like the desert somewhere, potentially. That's another thing. We don't know where this is. Yeah, dead fish. They're good at hiding, but the one I saw wasn't trying to hide at all. Same thing with mines. Dead fish cheese spread. 47 objects, broad daylight, 12 in the afternoon, clear blue skies, metallic white objects flying in a group. They literally were not trying to hide or be inconspicuous. They literally were not. And that's another part of the puzzle. Why are they in so many numbers? Why do they group together in so many collective numbers? Why are there so many craft, period? And why do they show themselves in times where it's evident they're not trying to hide at all? Why? What's the purpose? Why would they do that? That's the concerning part of it. Yeah, Dead Fish, I remember you saying that. I watched the video. Yeah. Yeah. And it's standing the test of time. And it's being the beautiful thing for me is because I had that video or have it. A lot of these releases end up aligning with what it is that I'm seeing. They end up aligning. Yeah. And I think that's where the more important part of the conversation is like why are they doing what they're doing? Yes, they're here, but why are they doing what they're doing? Yeah, Dead Fish Express says, I've heard other people say that too. They weren't trying to hide. Yeah, I mean, because you at the same time you hear a lot of people saying they are trying to hide, and we have evidence of some of them doing that, like the one we saw flying through the clouds was obviously trying to not be seen, but then there's cases where they're just showing up like, hey, we're right here, we're in numbers now. 47 objects at once, is that an intimidation thing, right? Because if they're not trying to hide, they're showing up in that many numbers. Is that meant to intimidate? Like, what is the reason behind that? That's why when I hear people talk about, oh, they're just here to help, they're here for love and light, I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense in a lot of cases that they would be doing some of the things that they're doing. And if they're in that many numbers and we're seeing them here and there around the world, imagine what numbers they're in under the ocean. Imagine that. So imagine if there's some sort of plan or some sort of moment when they all are supposed to show themselves. Do you realize how many objects that might be? If they just all showed up right now, they all came out the water, they all showed the behavior, they just are going to show themselves. Do you realize how many objects that would probably be? It would be so many different objects that you got to wonder why they're here in so many numbers, dude. You got to wonder. And I'll take this as well. Dead Fish, you said true. Some people say they see a craft. I didn't see any craft at all. Mines are in the middle, right? Because some of these objects that are releasing these videos are being or come across as like glowing orbs and not physical objects. Sometimes they do seem to be physical. The objects I filmed in the middle of the day, they had the sun shining off of them, so they gave off a metallic feel. When they flew over and I'm looking right at them, they were solid metallic objects, uniform. They each one of them looked exactly the same. But I think that these are also the same objects that if it were at nighttime may come across as orbs. So maybe they at night they glow. But there's definitely a physical element to some of these just actual probes or drones, versus they're not all plasma balls. I think maybe that's something they can do, or they can emanate like plasma from a physical substance or physical surface. But the ones I filmed, they were shown in a physical metallic form, and I think they can transition. It sounds strange, but I think that's I don't think they're separate things, because the behaviors as far as the flight patterns, the formations, things of that nature are all similar. So when you talk about the shining orbs at night, glowing orbs versus these metallic objects that you film in the day, I think they're one and the same. I think if the metallic objects I filmed, if I were recording them at night, they would have been glowing objects, right? And I think that's kind of what it is, but that's kind of where I'm at with that. Let me get to the next video here. What do we got? Here's the next one here. These are all from the UFO dump from today. For those who may not be aware, this is from today. Once again, we don't know what they're looking at. Let me fast forward a little bit. See if we, does it lock on anything here? All right, I don't see much in this one. Let me move to the next video. Okay, here we go. Once again, a group of objects. I think we've seen other videos like this. And this is the reason why I liked what Skywatcher was doing, because I think one of the things we should be doing is putting these in different buckets as far as shapes. And this is why they, if you remember a few years ago with the UAP report, they were redacting the shapes, right? When we had the first initial couple UAP reports, they had the whole common shapes part of it redacted. They didn't want to tell us what the shapes were. And my whole idea of that is I believe that they didn't do that. They redacted shapes because if we knew what the common shapes were, then it would end up corroborating a lot of different sightings that we have had. I want to thank Kitty Catty Whack for the awesome super chat. Appreciate you being just a firm supporter of the show and helping us raise the bar. That's what all these go to, super chats, memberships, good at helping us putting on better shows like the one we'll be doing tomorrow night with Preston Dennett. So thank you so much, Kitty Catty Whack. Round of applause for Kitty Catty Whack. Awesome stuff. And yeah, I think that's why the common shapes, I think there's only going to be so many shapes, which I think is why the reoccurring theme with a lot of these releases is we saw a video like this. Wasn't related to this sighting, but it's the same type of object showing the same type of behavior. And I think there's only so many of these different type of things that we're looking at. A good website to look at is Newfork. That's Nuforc. Newfork.com, I believe, is National UFO Reporting Center. They have been historically putting their reports into different categories. So they have like cross-shaped objects, ball-shaped, sphere-shaped objects, disc-shaped objects, and you can kind of sift through the different sightings that people have reported that fall under those categories. And I think at the end of the day, if you go back and look at these Skywatcher, they ended up with, I think, 9 different classes. I think that's about right. And then now that you have the classes, you can take these sightings and put them under each one of those categories so you can see what we're seeing, what's the most common object. And I'm going to tell you, these ones right here are probably the most common, which are these white spherical. And if you go back to the UAP report, when they finally began showing shapes, it showed in there that most of the ones reported are silver, white, or translucent spheres. Those are these right here. And there's a video that I have where I took some MUFON information along with my own sighting and kind of showed where these things have been shown all over the world. And I think these are probably the most common right here that you'll get. Like a lot of people who have recorded UFOs are recording things like this more often than not. It's rare that you see a saucer. It's just rare. You know, the big triangles that everyone talks about, that Richard Dolan talks about, go outside smoking at 2 a.m. and there's this huge triangle sitting over the neighborhood. I haven't seen those. I don't doubt that they're out there, but those aren't really common. These are the more common things, and these are the probes. So I don't think there's anything in these that are flying these things. But truthfully, just like with my own sighting, these things they give off a lifelike characteristic, like they're alive themselves. However you want to take that, these objects, the way that they act like they're alive themselves. Now, an explanation for that could be, as I think someone talked about, if each one of these are being controlled by NHI, then think of you know how the you have those, I don't know what they call them, drone Olympics or drone races, you know, where the guys put on the goggles and they control their drones and they race through these obstacles. You get first person view, right? So the behavior technically of those drones that are using those drone races are kind of giving off a lifelike thing, because it's like first person view. So the reaction and the movement is literally being controlled by a living thing. And because of the first person view is giving off a lifelike characteristic. And I think that's what's happening with these drones, that if they are individually being controlled by one particular being, that's what's happening. It's like a first person view sort of situation, which allows them to kind of move around and check things out and do things without having to be present physically in the moment, right? Maybe they're underwater somewhere. Maybe they're high up in the sky. Send these down and then they can move around, probe and look around without it being too like, and I think that's kind of what we might be having going on there. Hey Maggie M10, thanks for joining us here. Appreciate you showing on up. Lex Diaz, so these orders might be controlled by like NHI kids. Yeah. I mean, why not? They're definitely, I feel like, based on my own sighting and the objects I recorded, I think probably were no more than 3 to 10 feet wide each object. And I just don't feel like there's something living is going to be inside of one of those. I just don't see it. Maybe, but it just doesn't make sense that they would be. Why travel individually like that when you could just be in a saucer, all together traveling around? Why do that? It just doesn't make sense. So I think they're definitely unmanned, but let's move to the next video here. The next video in the release. All right, take care, Roger Murray. Appreciate you dropping knowledge on us tonight. And we'll be doing the show tomorrow, so I hope to see you back for the Preston Dennett show tomorrow night. Okay, it's another single solitary object. And just like I said, because we'll skip through this one. If it's kind of like what we've already seen, I think it'll just, this is my first time seeing these along with all of you guys. So the common theme, as I was saying before, is that these white spherical objects are all over the world. And I think these releases are kind of showing that. And I think the silver ones, I think they fall in the same category as the white ones. I'll jump into the next one here. And this one has a weird shape to it. Is it spherical or is it more flat? Can you tell? Seems to be spherical, but it seems like hexagonal. All right, Dead Fish Cheese Spread. Appreciate you coming on in. Let's see. Make sure you guys check out Dead Fish Cheese Spread's documentary too. I'm gonna definitely be going over to watch that. Maggie M10, does anyone know how many files will be released? They released them already, and let me see if I can tell you right now. There's probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll say right now. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 57 videos. 57 videos. Some of them are the NASA broadcast. And then files themselves. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like 6 different PDF files. We're kind of just breezing through the some of the weird videos. They just all came out today. This is a weird one. I'd love to find out more about this. All right, let's move on. A lot of single solitary objects. Fast forward through that a little bit. Seems to be the same terrain, so. Yeah, I get it. When we're talking about sources and methods, these cameras are obviously pretty high up, so. Let's move to the next one here. Lex Diaz, they said there was a video where you can see the NHI through a window chasing a plane. Where is that video? Truthfully, maybe it's in that dump of 46 videos that Luna was talking about. See something like that, it's gonna have to be 4K. And I just don't think any of these videos that they're releasing is going to depict anything like that. I don't. If we left it up to them, I don't think any of the videos that they release in these dumps are going to be anything like that. Because once again, we've seen stuff like this from Corbell and other sources. This is interesting because this seems to be like a regular camera view. You see the color of the sky here, so see when you get the color, seems to be like a regular camera. So I would assume if we had something to look at. Yeah, there's nothing in that video, so I don't know what they were tracking. And we'll look at a few more of these here before we get up out of here. Then we got like 4 or 5 more. These are all first looks. I haven't looked at any of these. Obviously, these were just released. So to see, okay. Something passing up a plane, okay. Interesting. This is the one they showed. I've seen this one on TV. This is the submarine. Alex Diaz says this one shows transmedium craft. Okay. Hopefully we see that. Maggie M10, I assume they're withholding some file. Oh, yeah, for sure. As I was stating, this is basically some of the same stuff Corbell. Ooh, wow. Are they intersecting those two objects? Are they two anomalous objects? Okay. Okay, that's interesting. And what are the chances that the Navy didn't get that on their radar? Like the submarine, I would assume, has some sort of radar capability and it would have had to detect those things. So, what was the chatter like? What did they say on the radio? That's pretty cool how far out they zoom. Let me see if there's anything else there. All right. We'll get like 3 more, 3 more, 4 more. Oh, yeah, they showed this one on the news too. This has a contrail, so I don't know that anomalous things leave a contrail. This is one of those ones where I'm like, if it's leaving a contrail, is this probably something top secret, potentially? The submarine one, did it do anything strange after that? Oh, okay. We'll double back. We'll make that one the last one then, because there's a couple more after that, and then we'll run the submarine one as the last one. This one seems to be, I don't know. This one doesn't excite me much. We'll go back to the sub one here in just a moment. So this one's pretty short. Ah, okay, okay. And for the balloon people, I'm like, because this would be one of those ones where they'd immediately try to say, "Oh, it's a balloon," and I'm just like, okay, is because it's floating, it's a balloon. Like, is that your basis on calling it a balloon because it's something that's floating? Like, what else are you looking at that leads you to believe you're looking at a balloon? All right, this one's pretty short too. All right, let's move to the next one. Then we'll double back to the submarine. I was going to say, is this a complete screen redact? What are we doing? Oh, this is the balloon. This is the balloon. This one is confusing, right? Because it looks like obviously a balloon that gets blown up, but then you have this other object there. So what is this the anomalous track right here? Is this the thing that's anomalous versus the balloon? Which again, we have full screen redaction right here for whatever reason. This one's fishy. Yeah, let me. Maybe. Maggie Intent or Lex Diaz says this is the Lake Huron balloon. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Obviously, this looks like a balloon. It gets exploded. And let me ask you this. Confusing for a few different reasons, right? Because I guess this is the anomalous thing, I guess. I don't know. But in what world, if this was just a traditional balloon, even a weather balloon, does it blow up into this many pieces? Like, what are we seeing here, right? Let's take another look at this. What are we seeing here when this let me see if I can pause it in the moment that it explodes. Very confusing. All right, let me go back a little bit here. Is that too much debris? Like, if we're just to assume that this is a balloon being shot down, just a regular balloon, isn't that too much debris? Or is it just me? That seems like too much debris. Let's go back again. Look at that in real time. Too much debris. I don't know, guys. If it's just a balloon, it's going to explode. Maybe you get a couple pieces, but this looks like it was made up of a whole bunch of stuff. Let's go back again. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that this looks like a balloon. But then let me pause it before it gets shot down. Okay, first of all, what the hell is that? Shooting it, for one. It's like a Gatling gun. Make that make sense, guys. I don't know. And are they trying to say this other object is another one of those but further out? Or that's why context matters, I think, in this. It's like, okay, you got to make that one make sense. That's what I'm saying. It says, Magneticus, how much wicker is in the balloon basket? Maggie M10 didn't look like it had a basket, just a string to me. So weird. Yeah, I would love to see the notes on this. Maybe the notes are included in the PDF file, so we don't know yet. But I'm sure somebody has to address this. As soon as you see somebody address this, if we haven't talked about it, let me know because I want to know more. Just seems like too much debris. I mean, what the hell is that? That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. Yeah, I mean, if we're to believe that it was one of the objects they shot down during the whole Chinese balloon situation, which I think was a farce, it had this whole setup hanging beneath it. And you would have seen that if this was a visual of the Chinese balloon, you would have seen that whole array that was hanging beneath it. This seems to just be a balloon, which obviously is going to have some sort of gas in it for it to float, and an outer skin to the balloon, obviously, and then what appears to be rope or string hanging from the bottom. I don't see a world where that explodes into a million pieces as represented in this video. So I'd want the government to explain this one a little more. And that's another thing, Maggie M10, because they blurred out redacted all the information. We don't know how big it could be, or even how fast it's moving, or in where it was. We have no clue. Are they looking down, shooting down at it? Are they shooting up at it? Like, we don't even have a clue. Is that other thing back there an anomalous object? Okay, if it was, then why are you shooting the balloon? Why aren't you shooting at the anomalous object? And it's also weird that the whole screen is redacted for a moment at the beginning and the end of the video. They would need to explain that one. That's definitely one I'll be asking questions about. Now, going back to the sub video real quick before we get up out of here. There's other videos, and we'll save those for another time here. We got through at least the first half. The first, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we've gotten through the first 31 videos, 33 videos. So let's take a look at the submarine video again. As Lex Diaz says, this one is interesting, so we'll see what happens here. Apparently, there's some transmedium stuff. I guess they're saying it happens. Lex Diaz. Those missiles are very expensive, like $500,000 for each balloon. Yeah, I don't even think that was a missile. Truthfully, I don't. It seemed like some. They have these things. I forgot what they call them, but they're like Gatling guns, but they're mounted on some of those ships. They shoot like 1,000 rounds a minute or something like that. Something crazy like that. I think it was one of those. But we'll let this one play. This one, let me see. This one is, I think, about 4 minutes, something like that. So we'll let this one play, and we'll see what happens. We can agree we see two anomalous things out there passing each other up. And then maybe they'll zoom in and we'll see some transmedium stuff. A-10 Warthog, maybe Magneticus? Possibly. Possibly. Whatever it was overkill for a damn balloon, I'll tell you that. Yeah, that lets you know whatever the hell that is, platform that is, it's pretty high up. And the zooming is awesome. So, I'll wait till this is over and we'll talk about this. So let's just check this out real quick before we wrap it up. All right, looks like 3 objects I can see right there. 1, 2, 3. I wonder if this is day or night. There's no way that sub is just sitting there like a sitting duck without knowing what's around it, so it has to know those things are there. Yes, Kitty Catty Whack Memorial Day remembrance and honoring all for their courage and sacrifice for our freedom. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. I would like to extend this to military around the world fighting for peace and freedom for this planet. I can totally agree with you on that. Kitty Catty Whack, thanks for being awesome, dropping that in the chat. Okay, where are these objects at? Yeah, there's no way the sub can't be aware that these things are there. All right, that's all it showed. Lex Diaz, that was the end of the video. Maybe we got enough time for at least one more. Let me go on. There's another row here. Let me just see if there's, I think This might be another angle of the submarine. It looks like some vehicle is in this one here. Let's see what this is.
Right here. We don't know. Yes, you don't know. It's not all the way to that? Yeah. That's not the place.
Whoa. Okay, something with sound. Let me turn that down a little bit. Let's take another look. This is something just captured on video. Let's take a look.
Right here. We don't know. Yes, you don't know. It's not all the way to that? Yeah. That's not the place.
Okay, that's a little strange. It was a little different. All right, this one won't zoom in any further. Let me get to a different one here. Okay, what are they? Oh, those three objects. They're just sitting in stationary, not moving. Looks like, is that IR when you can see through the clouds? I think that's IR. They're catching that object right there, just sitting there. That's definitely strange. Hell, okay, another sphere. I'm gonna call it a sphere. All right, that was a short video. Let me move to the next one here. Just skimming through this video because I don't see what it's trying to capture. Okay, there we go. All right, nothing special. Let's move on. Ah, okay. Transmedium. All right, that video's pretty weird. Let's see what else we got. Whoa. Okay, so the oil derrick. Is this the thing that Lou Elizondo was talking about? An object underwater that sped off pretty fast, a large object. He said larger than an oil derrick. It sped off pretty fast. Is that this? I'm assuming it's the black mass. Is that? No, look at all those little objects. Whoa, you see that? All those things swarming around this thing. Those could be birds, right? Especially being around a platform, those could be birds. I'm assuming that's what they're focusing on. Those could be birds. It looks like, okay, what the hell is that? It's another platform, it looks like. But what the hell are they filming? They can't be filming, the black dot is not what they're filming. I don't believe so. They're filming something that has to do. Okay, they got the platform. It's not the black dot. It can't be the black dot. Yeah, it looks like water. It looks like it's like a oil derrick or something out there in the Gulf, or some body of water. But what are they? They keep focusing on this black dot. Are they trying to say that's anomalous, or what are they doing here? Because the black dot is moving, right? But it could be obviously the camera. Like, what are they capturing here? I don't get it. Okay, I see something there. Oh, those are the platforms again. What are they trying to say? See that? Are they saying that black object is what we should be looking at? That's the thing. That's what, without any context, it's like, well, what are we doing here? What are we looking at? If they're following the black dot and they're saying that's something under the water, okay, then that's crazy because it's huge. If that's what they're focusing on, but it seems the black dot is always in the center of the screen. Is that because they're moving with it, or is that just an artifact of the camera? Otherwise, I don't see anything else anomalous. I will put that one on the board to look at again later, but with context, I don't get it. Let me see. What else do we have? Scrub through this. Okay, what the hell is that? Okay, it's a little white object. Looking for something different. We've seen a lot of little white objects, so we're going to move on. Once again, I don't see anything here. Just this black shadow. Now imagine, and we don't know because there's no context as of yet, but what if we came back around a week from now after this has been looked at and they're like, yeah, no, it's the black spots are these unidentified objects under the water. Well, then there, if they say that, well, then that makes this kind of strange, right? But until then, we can't just speculate. I wouldn't speculate on that because that'd be silly to do because you just have no clue. Yep, not getting nothing out of this one. Seems like a waste of a video, right? Now, why is this part of the UFO files? Again, tell me why. Okay, what are we looking at? What the hell is it tracking? I don't see it. Okay. Another white dot. All right, let's see what else we got here. Then we got, I think, about 5 more videos before we play them all. Wow. Okay. That was going pretty fast. It doesn't seem to be tracking it. All right, something that was strange. Nothing really there. Let's go to the next one. Okay, it's pretty interesting. Seems to be like translucent in the middle, or there's something in the middle. Can they zoom? Oh, there we go. Okay, definitely something in the middle there. What is that? A bubble? Is it inside a ball or? Okay, that's pretty strange. Yeah, it seems to be, I don't know. It definitely seems to be something in the center. Like, is that bubble a physical, like, is it visible to the eye, or are you only seeing the center piece? That's what I would want to know. Is that bubble like an effect that you can only see under a certain filter? Yeah, no problem, kitty catty whack. Like I say, I'm seeing all this for the very first time as well. So it's kind of cool being able to do this while we're doing the show. Then I can look into it more later. Yeah, that was weird. That was definitely weird. Okay. Let's see. Got about 4 more here. Just skimming through them as the zoomed out view doesn't do us any good. All right, let's move on to the next one here. I think there's a lot of pre-roll on these videos where it's just the video before the object comes into frame, like a lot of nothing video that they normally take clip off. I don't see the, unless it's that black dot right there, sort of in the middle of the screen. If that's what they're capturing, then it seems to be a stationary object. Other than that, we're not seeing anything there. Let's move to the next one here. All right, let's move on to the last one here. Just another white dot. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. Nothing different. Is that the object right above the cross here to the upper right? Is it underwater? It seems like maybe. Yeah. Okay, well, not really seeing what they want us to see here. And that's it for now because they have some NASA videos. They're just audio, and I know some of them, the audio isn't even, so I'm going to try maybe to edit some of those so that the audio is equal because you can hear like mission control talking, but then the astronaut or person and the on the other end is very, very low. So I want to take those videos and even out the volume to make them better to listen to. I know there's at least one that's like that. Let me, I'll try to play one, just the first one on this list, and see if we have that problem. If so, then I'll just do it. Yeah, Maggie M10 is absolutely right. The white dots are clearly well-established phenomena. That's the important part. Shame there is no detail to see if they are the quote same. No, and that's the important part, and that's what I was saying earlier. That's why I appreciate what Skywatcher did by at least trying to form some sort of classes, so we know we're seeing this particular class object, right? We're calling them white dots, white spheres. If you look over all of these videos, there are a lot of the white dots. And as I felt and thought before seeing all this stuff, those are probably the most common things that you're going to see out there are these white dots. And so for a lot of people who are looking for the traditional saucer-shaped craft, you're not seeing that a lot, right? You're seeing these other objects more than others. And I think the reason, the logical reason or explanation is those are probes that are being sent off from other craft. So these other craft are releasing these probes out into the open. They're going around doing whatever they do, and then assuming they go back to where they came from. But in that case, that means most of these things that we're seeing on these videos and videos that experiencers have captured are not craft with NHI in them. NHI controlling them, yes. NHI actually in them, flying them, doubt it. And I think that furthers what we know about the phenomena, at least takes us to the next step, right? In most cases, when you think about it, the actual sightings occur. They're like these physical saucer-shaped or different type of shaped metallic craft. They're never really these spheres. So that's why I for sure feel like these spheres are like extraterrestrial drone type craft, and that's exactly what we're looking at. Yep, a lot of people film similar white dot type things in the night skies on cyanic cameras. Yeah, I think those are simply probes. Problem for me is, why are there so many, and why do they feel the need to show themselves to people? And when they do, they're in these numbers or they're in these formations. Like, what's the purpose there? And I think that's something we could dive into and kind of figure out a little bit later. But I think what we can say is, just kind of skimming through these videos, that this isn't disclosure. This is not disclosure. This is nowhere near disclosure. So I think there are a lot of people out there that were too quick to jump to the gun to call this disclosure, for one. For two, to crown an individual as being the disclosure president, just too premature to do that. Even if this was going to be disclosure, I still think you don't crown someone until you have the data there, right? Because then you find yourself having to walk back your words. Then it's like, okay, can your perspective, it's like the boy that cried wolf, right? If you cry disclosure every time something comes out, and then it comes out to not be disclosure, well, how many more times can I listen to you call something disclosure before it's just like, hey, whatever, right? So I think a lot of people jump too quick to the gun for that. I didn't really anticipate anything further than what has always happened in the past. Yeah, maybe we're getting a few more videos out there, but as you can see, a lot of them are not necessarily duplicates, but They don't add any more information to the conversation. It's what we knew already. The videos that have been released, there's not really a lot of context to them. So once again, you have a bunch of videos that you'll have to sit back and try to connect dots to add the information to those videos to make them relevant. I think it's a lot of extra time that we really don't have. It's a distraction. It's literally a distraction. And I think until we get something like what Luna's talking about with the 46 videos that they feel like we should see because they've seen them, I trust that more than I trust calling someone a disclosure president and just thinking, oh, today's the day. Oh, he said it, so here we go. This is disclosure. Nah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. For anybody calling him disclosure president,
That's crazy.
for anybody that thought that these UFO videos were going to be the thing that took us across the finish line,
That's crazy.
not going to happen. Not going to happen. But I would like to see what some other people do when they put this stuff together, what they can figure out. And, I always do want to try to find a silver lining in some of this. And I think for me so far, the silver lining was the UFO video. And I'll play that one again before we go. I think that this one is the one that I'd want to know more about. Like, let's find out more about this one. This one right here. I want to know more about this. That for me, because of the movie Nope. Thank you for your awesome support, Maggie and Ted. Appreciate you. And yes, that looks like the alien in Nope. And that's what I'm saying, because here's the thing. And I'll say this again because that's where we're ending off. So when I went to watch Nope, and I'll play it again while I'm saying this. When I went to watch the movie Nope, as probably a lot of people did, I went into the theater expecting nuts and bolts, aliens and craft. Like, okay, they showed what we thought were going to be gray beings, but they were really the people in the masks. We thought they were going to have gray beings. We thought they were going to have physical craft, that these beings were flying. And I sat in the movie theater as this movie ended and I didn't know if I was satisfied or not with what I just watched. And I sat there through the credits and I just was trying to feel myself out, like, how do I feel about this? And by the time the credits ended and I got up to walk to the car, before I even got to the car, it struck me that that was actually a genius twist to the movie. Because as you see in this video, there's evidence of behavior similar to what we saw in Nope. So what does that mean? Does that mean that there's an element of this presence where the craft are actually the living things? Once again, I go back to, I think, Michael Herrera, or one of these whistleblowers that came out through Dr. Stephen Greer, who talked about running in, being on the outskirts of the Nevada test range with his wife. I believe they were driving down a road and they ran into this craft, what appeared to be a craft in the middle of the road. They get out of the vehicle. He says he walks up to it and he kind of rubs his hand on it and it feels like a cat's tongue. And it responded to him like if it was alive. Now, he made this statement well before Nope. And in my own sighting, even though I just said earlier that these things were metallic objects, they behaved as if they were biological. in the video that I recorded, if you've seen it, and you'll see it again soon, because I'm going to play it again in these weeks leading up. But it all clicked for me. When I thought about the movie, I'm like, that's genius because of that particular sighting that was talked about where it felt like a cat's tongue. Also, when I thought about my own sighting, I was like, they did seem like they were alive. So that was a brilliant angle to take. And then this comes out, and it's like, okay, does that confirm? Because they talk about some of these plasma objects being alive. Is there an element of the presence where there are objects that are alive in addition to non-human intelligence, meaning like biological humanoid sort of beings? Is there this whole thing going on? So I think that's pretty compelling. I want to know more about this video. I hope they can, someone could get down and dig into it as we get ready to get up out of here. This has been fun. It always is fun. We have an awesome show coming up tomorrow with Preston Dennett stepping in and perfect time to have a conversation leading into where we're at, how we're feeling, and trying to see where this is going to go. So can't wait for that show tomorrow. Also, guys, you can become a social soldier today. That's how you help put on these shows and make these shows better and better and better. We're always trying to raise the bar here, like with Super Chats that we had tonight. And then memberships, these go to paying subscription fees and doing things like hiring editors, which is one thing I want to do on this channel. I want to raise the bar of the content created. You see we're doing UFO Minutes now, where they're little bite-sized content as far as like some of the latest things going on. So we're really rounding out the channel here. And we'd appreciate just love and support. Whenever you can do it is awesome. Just showing up is support, and that's awesome as well. Also, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to hit the like button right under the video. Also, the notification bell so you know next time we go live on this channel. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Consider subscribing today. And it's a slow growth, and it's a beautiful thing because I don't just want people coming here who are looking for just stories, who are looking just to be entertained by something spooky or something unknown. That's not where we're at in the conversation. It's not what's going to move the needle. It's not what's going to get us closer to the answers. And I enjoy people like you coming in to kind of bounce ideas off of and continue to move the needle. We do this for the positive progression of humanity. That's what this channel has been built off of, and that's what we'll continue to do here. So once again, I do appreciate you guys all coming in. As you can see right there, this is us. A sea of individuals down there. That represents all of us. That's everyone around the world, all different races, walks of life. That's what you see at the bottom of the screen there. This is why we do this, for the positive progression of humanity. Make sure you share these shows with people out there. We're trying to spread the word and trying to get people in to have the conversations that move the needle. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get up out of here. I think we had a great show. Went longer than normal, but we had a UFO drop, so why not? Once again, thanks for coming on in. I'll see you guys tomorrow right here on this channel with Preston Dennett stepping into the building, bringing that awesome stuff as he always does, and should be a really great show. So tell a friend. Also, here's another thing I wanted to do. There's this hype thing on YouTube where you can hype a video. Doesn't cost anything. Just hit the hype button. I think if you get so many hypes, it gives you points and kind of puts you out in the algorithm. So let's do the likes, the hypes, and then also if you really believe in the content that we talk about, like the conversations we have, if you think this is something we should be having with someone you know, hit the share button on this video or any video. Click where it says copy link. Then take that link over to your social media and say, hey, here's a great video, guys. You guys should come in and check out this conversation, and then post that link there on your socials, and then tell some of your friends to share it as well. That's how we get this out there and how we get more people coming in. So that'll be the call to action. Let's share these on socials and then ask our friends to share these as well, and kind of try to put a web out there, because I think these conversations are becoming more and more important as we get closer to that disclosure moment, which could happen this year. I don't think it happens through a disclosure president, oxymoron once again.
That's crazy.
But I'll tell you what, the more conversations we have, the closer we are likely to get to the answer. So keep tuning in, keep supporting, and we will see you guys next time, same place, same channel. I will see you right back here tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night, guys. I'm out of here. Take care.